All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this quarantine theater company read of Constantine, one of my all-time favorite movies. And tonight we have a wonderful cast with us. So I will let George go ahead and get started.
Hello, I'm George, and I'll be doing the action description.
Hello, I'm Anne, and I will be doing Angela. I mean, I'll be playing Angela. I'm not doing Angela. I'm shut up.
Hi, I'm Chelsea, and I'm going to be John Constantine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Logan. I'm gonna be Papa Midnight.
Why, hello there. I'm Travis, and I'm playing Chaz.
Hi, I'm Jen, and I'm going to be Gabriel.
I'm Eric. I'll be Balthazar and the Lucifer Morningstar.
I'm Jessica, and I'll be Hennessy.
And I'm Bridget, and I'll be playing Beeman.
All right, take it away, George.
All right, Constantine by Kevin Broadbent, based on the characters appearing in magazines published by DC Comics Incorporated. A lot of writers here. Previous revisions by Mark Bomback, current revisions by Frank Capello. This is an early production draft with edits. Fade in, exterior Istanbul dusk. Glimpses of an ancient city, almost motionless against the tide of time. Sea swelled along an endless wall, billowing silk frozen against the sky. Birds lighting on Byzantine columns. Final image is of an imposing structure beyond the trees. Interior prison for the criminally insane. Corridor of ancient stone and steel extends into infinite darkness. Stale air hangs in the dim half-light like atomized ether. There is whispering and tangled voices. Drift in past prison cells the size of closets. Brief flashes of carved faces, insanity, coming to rest on the final cell. A gaunt prisoner kneels on the granite, head bowed to a wall hung tapestry of Christ. But he's not just praying, he's digging. With his arm under the tapestry, he scratches at the stone with a spoon. After only a year, the spoon finally breaks through. Interior narrow channel. The prisoner claws his way between ancient walls, comes to a dead end against a thick wooden door. He nudges a shoulder against it, digs in and pushes. Door groans open, sucking air into the pitch black chamber. Interior prisoner's cell. The tapestry covering the hole is pulled against the wall, then billows outward like a sail. Interior chamber, prisoner. He pulls himself inside, chokes in the heavy air. He scans the musty room, antique furniture, a few empty crates, and the remains of several deteriorating skeletons. He looks to the far wall, sees a hint of light above through the crumbling limestone, a way out, too high to reach. Prisoner pulls an old chest out of a cobwebbed corner and slides it under the light. He steps up onto the chest, grabs the edges of the hole, and starts to shove off when the top of the chest gives way and his foot crunches through. Prisoner reaches down to free his foot when he sees something inside, wrapped in a red cloth. He pulls it out, and as he unwraps it, he discovers the cloth is a Nazi flag. At the center is a crudely shaped iron relic, 8 inches long, stains on the edges. Could be the petrified tooth of some prehistoric animal, or maybe an ancient arrowhead. As he holds it, feverish sweat starts to form on his face. Mysterious POV from behind, as if he's being watched by someone else. Prisoner spins, looks back at us, nothing. Prisoner starts towards the way out. Interior prisoner corridor. The guard's flashlight beam probes the cell, one by one, falls on the tapestry. Christ billows out from the wall, revealing the hole. Interior prison, various shots. Alarm sound, lights blast on, guards with weapons rush through. Interior narrow channel. Prisoner squeezes towards light, grips the relic tight. Exterior prison, night. Sirens blare as spotlights sweep across the ominous structure. Prisoner breaks from the darkness, runs for the trees on the other side of the wall.
Stop!
Prisoner spins, gripping the relic tight. Gunshots ring out. Bullets streak towards him but never hit their target. Guards check their weapons on the run. Exterior near a road, night. Prisoner breaks from the trees, runs into a road. Headlights wash over him and tires screech. Prisoner spins, is right in the path of a car. Brakes squeal. Car locks up, but too late. Impacts prisoner, who is violently thrown and lands in a heap. Car slides to a stop. Driver jumps out, sees the front end sheet metal has accordioned all the way to the tires. He scans the area for a body, spots the prisoner, and is stunned to see him getting to his feet, uninjured. Prisoner is just as amazed. He glances at the relic in his hand, notes the wrist has reddened, and an odd symbol has appeared as if embossed in the flesh. Driver calls out, but the prisoner is spooked, runs off. Over this, we hear a child's scream. Interior apartment, day. Father Hennessy, 50, stands over a young teen, 13, Jeannie, splashes holy water on her body. She screams again.
Et separator, et blasphemetur, et quam latator, amor su integri serpentes.
Her body convulses, pulls against the bandages, tying her hands and feet to the bed frame. We notice her fingernails drained of color, almost black. Her mother is off to one side, completely hysterical. On the other side is a crowd of bewildered tenants, all crammed into the hallway outside the opened door. Nothing can compare with an exorcism, especially one that's gone bad. The rather obese priest tries to steady his hands and his heart. It's obvious he's totally out of his league here. Girl lets out another scream that echoes over exterior aging apartment building. Not in a third world country, but smack center in one of America's richest cities. Sparkling high rises tower in the distance while flashy billboards tout the sexiest fashions, the hottest automobiles, and the smoothest malt liquor. Superimposed Los Angeles today. Exterior alley by the apartment. A faded yellow taxi pulls up and stops. Someone steps out, grinds a cigarette butt into the asphalt. Interior apartment building foyer. Doors open, flood the musty darkness with a brief relief of sunlight. A man whose face we don't see steps inside, his trench coat hanging like the folded wings of a raven. He pauses, pulls an ornate lighter, and lights a cigarette, takes a puff, and pushes on inside. Interior narrow staircase hall wall, lined with tenants trying to get a glimpse of the unexplainable. The stranger pushes through. Suspicious faces step out of his path. The ones that don't, he pushes aside, even the gangbangers. The man has no patience for politeness, no time for tact, no fear of anything. This man is John Constantine. He arrives at his destination, barges into interior apartment 7B. One scan of the situation is all it takes. The bed, the child, the panicked priest who rushes to John.
You're here.
John shoots him a disgusted look. Hennessy gives him a wide berth. John walks past the panic-stricken mother without a glance, sets his cigarette on the nightstand, the glowing tip drooped over the edge. He puts a gloved hand to the child's face and it burns on contact. His demeanor instantly changes as he leans right next to the ear of the little girl and whispers.
This is Constantine. John Constantine. Asshole.
The girl jolts, bandages on her arms cut into her skin. Eyes snap open, glare right through him.
How you doing?
Vamos juntos a matarla.
John whips out a keychain crammed with medallions.
Let's see who we got here.
He holds them up so they cast shadows across Judy's face. He flips through each of these sculptured saints until the child suddenly reacts to one, tries to look away. John stares at the saint responsible, seems genuinely puzzled. He turns to the mother, very serious.
I need a mirror now.
Shaken, the mother produces a small compact. John pushes it away, turns to the doorway crowd.
A large mirror, at least 3 feet high.
The hallway crowd discusses possibilities.
Move!
Tenants run to retrieve a mirror. Hennessy looks worried. John grabs the bed, shoves Hennessy aside as he swings the bed around, legs gouging hardwood all the way, faces it towards the window. Intercut, apartment 5G below. Several of the men from the hallway crowd storm through an old woman's stuffy apartment, locate a huge iron-framed mirror and rip it and half the plaster from the wall. John centers on a drapery robe and pulls hard. Drapery hooks explode off the curtain rod as he swings open the window, looks down into the alleyway where that yellow taxi is parked.
Chaz!
Chaz, 20s, looks up from his cab, cool, frustrated. You just know he'd love to be up there, not down here.
Move the car!
Why?
Move the damn car!
John frees the drapery rope and ducks back into the room.
Park the car. Move the car.
Chaz shifts into reverse and moves the car 3 feet.
There, I moved the damn car.
Interior hallway. 4 men struggle to carry up that enormous mirror. The old woman follows, begs them to be gentle. They swing the mirror around, take out a chunk of banister. She freaks. Interior apartment 7B. Hennessy can only watch as John threads the drapery rope through the fire escape railing, drapes it back through the window, and loops it over the ceiling fan. He climbs onto the bed, leans over the child, whose eyes have closed and she's shaking badly. Her body seems to be going into shock. Isn't strong enough for this. John has no choice, slaps her. Eyes pop back open, dark and dilated. He yells down at her in Aramaic and English.
Amar Natash Balthazar, rescind from the flesh, I command thee.
The girl chokes as if ready to spit.
That's it. Time to go home.
Ginny screams.
Tiempo para morir.
Her body suddenly pulses half again larger. John recoils for a beat. Odd. He continues in Aramaic.
Amar Natash Balthazar.
Another pulse, and this time a shape is clearly seen expanding under the child's skin, as if the demon inside were trying to burst right through. John backs off, watches as the shape ripples her flesh, like fingers caressing from the other side. John glances to Hennessy. What the hell? Mir arrives at the doorway, bangs against the jamb. John waves the men. The 4 men hefted into the room.
Lift it. Over the bed. Up.
John ducks, settles on the girl as they raise it over him.
Hennessy, tie it off.
Hennessy is glad to be called into service, quickly ties one end of rope to the mirror. John straddles the girl, positions his head between her and the mirror above him.
Now close your eyes, all of you, and whatever happens, do not look into the mirror.
The men close their eyes, muscles tense under the weight.
Amar Natash Balthazar, resume from the flesh, I command thee.
Jeannie reacts. That shape reappears, contorts the young body, all out of proportion. John unblocks the mirror for a second, and Jeannie is reflected inside. It's not just the image of a young girl in there, but something else. The surface of the mirror flexes in the hands of the men. One starts to look.
No!
Jeannie screams, breaks free of the straps. She rises up, grabs John tight around the throat, nails dig deep.
John?
Not yet.
John struggles, puts his hands over her mouth, cutting off her air supply. Question is, who's going to pass out first? Jeannie's body is racked by whatever's inside her. She goes into shock, body collapsing, shaking, close to death.
Look at me!
But she's passing out first. John quickly takes the medallion that caused the earlier reaction
God damn it, look!
and presses it against her forehead. Eyes snap wide and John unblocks the mirror. Jeannie locks on her reflection and the image in the mirror changes drastically.
Smile pretty, you vain prick.
The child's reflection has now changed to a pissed off demon, one that knows it just got suckered in. Mirror vibrates wildly in the men's script. Demon reflection ripples the glass, bending it outward into 3D space as the girl takes her last breaths.
Now! Hennessy, now!
Hennessy pulls the rope with all 300 plus pounds as John gives the demon face a full extended finger.
For your boss.
The demon pushes for him, but Mir is jerked into motion, swings right out the window, but catches on a sliver of wood.
Oh, no, you don't.
John jumps up and helps push the mirror free. Exterior apartment building, huge mirror, falls slow motion from the 7th story, tumbling end over end, sunlight beams glancing off the glass, projecting the image of the demon into the LA cityscape, onto buildings, sidewalks, a passing truck, until all 300 pounds of iron and glass come crashing down on the taxi's hood.
Shit.
The demon's image shatters on impact, glass splintering into a million diamond-like fragments that choke the air. The groan of something evil reverberates into the city beyond. Chaz looks up, sees he missed dying by 3 feet. Interior apartment, continuous action. Jeannie gasps, takes her first breath as a child again, and cries. Mother pulls her in, hugs her tight. Note the girl's fingernails, no longer black. John's beat, reclaims that stub of a cigarette still burning, takes a drag. He pushes past Hennessy, who is approaching the mother.
Now about the fee.
John slips from view into the kitchenette, hides the fact that he has to lean against the door to keep his balance. He catches his breath, looks up, and is staring right at a child's crayon drawing magneted to the fridge. A drawing of a figure poking another in the side with a long stick. This image is repeated over and over. John tugs it off the fridge, tucks it away. Interior apartment building, stairwell later. Hennessy follows John down the spiraling stairs, passing the gathered tenants. A few are freaked, cross themselves, others horrified, but many want to touch them, shake their hands. A shadowy figure several floors up stares over the rail at the heroes below. Note the slick suit, the polished veneer. He flicks an ancient coin between his fingers. John pauses, gazes up through the stairwell as if sensing something. No one there. John shakes out the feeling, continues down the steps where Hennessy is shoving his hat in front of the tenants. They're gladly giving to the cause.
Thank you. Yes. Gracias.
Hennessy.
Hennessy stops his panhandling, continues towards the exit. Interior foyer. John and Hennessy stop near the front entrance. John rips the white collar from Hennessy's neck.
I know, but I didn't think she was really possessed. Not like that.
I'm not back an hour and you dragged me into this.
Don't be mad, John. Don't be. On the left side. Best pocket.
Don't do that shit on me.
Sorry. Here, you can have half.
Hennessy starts to divvy the cash, but John snatches the hat.
I should take it all. Save you from yourself.
He gestures that bagged bottle in Hennessy's jacket.
It keeps them out so I can sleep. Please, John, I need to sleep.
John stares at his pathetic friend, sighs, finally slips a few bills from the wad and hands them over. Hennessy is bubbling with appreciation, starts to follow. John simply holds up a hand. Hennessy stops, watches John walk out alone. Exterior alley by the apartment. John turns the corner, spots Chaz punching a dent from the taxi's hood.
I told you to move it.
Well, maybe if you'd have told me you were dropping a 300-pound mirror with a pissed off demon in it, I would have moved it further.
Chaz slams the hood. They slide into the car.
Well,
what?
Chaz reaches back into John's front coat pocket, pulls out Hennessy's wad of cash, slips off a few bills.
should have cut your stay in the land of enlightenment. You were so close to growing a conscience.
John grins, pulls his special lighter, lights a smoke, and sits back.
Los Angeles.
He looks back up at the apartment, still puzzled.
Never ceases to entertain.
Chaz crams the car in gear as John takes a drag and coughs. Exterior 20 lanes bowling alley day. Chaz's taxi pulls up, parks. Taxi trunk opens, reveals suitcases stamped with Air India. John starts inside, pauses as Chaz yells,
There are 4 bags. I have 2 hands. This give you any ideas?
Make 2 trips.
John walks in. Chaz curses under his breath.
Fucking
Interior John's apartment. It seems small until you walk in and realize it's as long as a bowling lane. Makes that cage-enclosed bed at one end seem like it's a mile away. Chaz throws the suitcases on it as John arrives.
simple question. How much longer do I have to be your slave?
John pulls a chain and a wall of windows shutters open.
You're not my slave, Chaz. You're my very appreciative assistant, like Tonto and Robin, or that skinny fellow with the fat friend.
Along the floor, encircling the entire room, are 5-gallon sparklets bottles. Each is adorned by a small hand-marked cross. John takes a moment to adjust one out of place.
How much longer?
John doesn't like his tone.
Well, I don't know. What's the going rate for saving a taxi driver hanging from his fingernails about to be swallowed into the jaws of hell?
So what time you want me back?
John gives him a knowing look, goes back to emptying his pockets.
I need to make an appearance at midnight, say 10-ish.
Chaz sighs, starts out.
Chaz,
Chaz turns back, catches an object John throws him.
little something from Delphi.
It's a dashboard air freshener shaped like a cow. Chaz tips it. Moo. John finds it rather amusing.
Gee, thanks.
Chaz leaves. John removes a small black box from his jacket. He sets it carefully on its own shelf by the window, stares out.
Provisions depleted.
John turns to see Beeman waddle in.
I gave you 3 months worth. You were gone only 1.
This diminutive occult version of Bond's Q carries a custom bowling bag and squints in the light like a mole.
What can I say, Beeman? India was a real drain.
They shake hands. Beeman sets his bowling bag onto the table, unzips it.
So, what do you need?
Everything you got.
You smell something, John?
Maybe. Incubus and this girl I just exorcised seemed a bit more spirited than usual.
Beeman starts pulling things out. First is a frayed rag, then glass containers.
Well, I've got your stone fragments from the road to Damascus, dust from the Dead Sea Scrolls. Oh, you'll love this.
Out comes a little matchbox with a smiling bug graphic.
Screech beetle from Mount Sinai.
He shakes the matchbox and the beetle flutters inside. Its wings create an eerie, high-pitched whirl. John chuckles.
Yeah, to you it's amusing, but to the fallen, like fingernails on a chalkboard.
What is it with you and bugs?
Beeman pulls out a set of sculptured brass knuckles. They are solid gold and engraved with religious markings. John takes them, tries them on. Nice fit.
Gold was blessed by the Bishop Anacott during the Crusades.
John spots a foot-long copper tube in the bag, pulls it out, grips the bicycle handle on one end.
Watch it there, cowboy. That's dragon's breath.
John gives the handle a squeeze and whoosh, a 10-foot flame belches out.
I thought you couldn't get it anymore.
Well, I know a guy who knows a guy.
John starts to put it down on the table and Beeman quickly pulls the frayed rag away.
Whoa, don't want to get a flame near this. Piece of the shroud Moses wore to the mountain.
Got any Callinicus?
How spirited was this incubus?
Like it was trying to come right out through the girl. I know how it sounds.
We're finger puppets to them, John. Elaborate costumes. They can work us, but don't come through us. They can't. You know that.
Check the scrolls anyway. See if there are any precedents.
Sure, John. Anything else?
You wouldn't happen to have anything for
Beeman sets down a bottle from the bag, Vicks 44.
On the house.
Exterior Club Midnight, 10 p.m. So exclusive, there's not even a line out front, just a pair of bouncers waiting to roll someone just for fun. Chaz follows John from the cab to the entrance. A bouncer selects a picture card from the deck. On the front are 2 flying dolphins. Only we can see the back, which is
2 frogs on a bench.
Yep, they let him pass. Chaz steps up and lucky him, he gets the same 2 flying dolphins.
2 frogs on a bench.
But Chaz is stiff-armed because the back of this card shows a rat in a dress.
What? But I'm with him, right? John?
John glances back, gives him an impassive look. Chaz backs away, stares after him. Someday. Interior Club Midnight. Music floods this exclusive establishment. It's a clash of cultures and influences not easily dated. A retro speakeasy for the new millennium. John walks through a maze of passages while the fantasies of a twisted city play out in the shadows. He pauses, sees a clan of suited businessmen in a corner showing off for several ladies. One fills a line of shot glasses from a pitcher of water. Another waves his hand over them, turns the water into red wine. The ladies are very impressed, drink up. One of the men in the group turns, watches John, Balthazar. He grins and pockets that odd coin. Interior hallway. John starts up a long flight of stairs, stops in front of 2 very large doors. Their surface is ancient, the wood petrified over countless centuries. John places his fingers into the gnarled folds, closes his eyes.
Num quam lidatura morso.
A living groan bellows from the rigid seams, but the doors don't budge.
Bastard changed the code again. Midnight! Come on! Do I have to huff and puff here?
The doors unlatch. Interior Midnight's office. Sweep across a meticulously crafted orrery, a scientific sculpture that normally displays our solar system in relative motion. But the planets here are ancient relics with symbols and names. Material, astral, spiritual, iconic, etc. And the globe at the center, creator. This is an orrery of the forces of the universe, and it's not moving.
Et separatora plasmet tu unaquam lader orso anteci serpentis.
John steps in through the doors behind.
Deciding which color to paint this place again?
Papa Midnight stands in the jungle he calls an office. Part African witch doctor, part savvy businessman. A full 6.5 feet of solid contradictions.
You're back early.
I got tired of spending your money.
I'm sure you spent enough.
Well, I do have a certain standard of living.
Tell me you found it.
I found the vault.
That's not what I asked.
Hey, can I help it if Buddhist monks don't take bribes?
Midnight strides towards him when John calmly pulls from his pocket a small ebony and gold relic. It stops Midnight cold.
Gotcha.
A reluctant grin cracks Midnight's stern features. He takes the relic in his thick fingers, stares breathlessly at a gaunt figure bracing itself against a cosmic wind.
2nd century depiction of a Sephiroth of the 4th realm.
Right. So we good here?
Midnight ignores his outstretched palm, slides the relic precisely onto one of the many rods jutting from the universal orrery.
Should counter the iconic plane.
That damn thing's never gonna balance.
Midnight lets go, and the complex machine actually starts to move, to turn. John is somewhat intrigued until the newest relic collides with another, and the orrery jams to a halt. Midnight deflates, stares at John suspiciously.
Must I remind you of what selling fake relics will do to your health?
It's authentic, Midnight. You just have the wrong piece. Jesus.
The two have a mini stare down. John's rigid poker face is only broken by a cough. Midnight sighs, breaks it off.
What? I didn't blink. That was a cough. You never cough?
Midnight reaches into his tuxedo jacket and hands over a thick stack of hundreds.
Better not be any Washingtons in here this time.
Why'd you cut your trip short?
John stops the counting, actually thinks about it.
I don't know. Just a feeling.
Oh, how foreboding. I've got chills.
John suddenly spins towards the entrance doors. He's stunned to see
Balthazar.
Balthazar is behind him, utterly confident, chillingly so.
We're not still whining about Manhattan, are we?
John's attempt to disguise his anger fails.
That expression alone has made my entire night.
I'll make your night. I'll deport your sorry ass right where you stand.
Gone! While in my house, you will obey my rules.
It's bad enough you let these half-breeds in at all, but this piece of shit.
Word is you're on your way down. Fresh meat. Finger licking good. Word is you're the one soul he'd come up here to collect himself.
Yeah, well, that's not happening anytime soon.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
John tries to catch his breath, but can't, and that scares him a bit. He tries to hide it, pushes out. Exterior Club Midnight. John slams out the exit, coughing. He pulls the Vicks 44 from his jacket, struggles with the child protector cap.
Hey, John.
John is surprised to see Hennessy waiting. He chokes, is about to bust the Vicks 44 bottle. Hennessy grabs hold, twists off the cap with one flick. John guzzles the syrup.
I'm real sorry about this morning. John, real sorry. Please don't hate me for dragging you into that. Please don't.
John can finally breathe.
I don't hate you,
That's good to hear. Real good.
but could you at least wait until I call before you show up?
You didn't call?
Not yet. Jesus, Hennessy. You freak me out sometimes.
So you want me to go away and come back?
No, I've got an assignment for you.
Really? What kind of assignment?
The kind you'll have to be sober for.
Oh, God. You want me to surf the ether?
He instinctively touches an amulet around his neck, 4 intersecting crosses.
Come on, you know that exorcism wasn't right.
I don't have the sight anymore.
Don't have it or don't want to use it.
Hennessy vacillates. This is obviously tough for him.
Just look around. A few days. You spot anything unusual? Anything. You let me know, okay?
John wraps an arm around his shoulder like a good buddy, then reaches behind his neck.
It'll be like old times.
and unclips the amulet from Hennessy's neck. That unnerves the big guy. John drops it in Hennessy's pocket.
Just for a few days.
Okay, okay. For you, John. Like old times, right?
Hennessy takes one last sip from his drink, hands the bottle over. John downs the rest, nods. Interior St. Anthony's Church, confession booth, night. Angela sits inside.
I killed a man today. Another one.
Father Garrett sits on the other side of the mesh window.
I'm sorry, Angela.
Most cops go 20 years without firing their gun. Not me. I always seem to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Interior apartment building, series of shots, night. Angela arrives home, pours milk for a cat, lets her hair down, slips off her shoes.
I didn't even see his face. I just pulled the trigger and he went away, just like all the others.
Angela in the shower, trying to wash off the guilt.
These feelings are natural in your line of work, Angela. I'd be worried if you didn't have them.
Angela now in a recliner, cat in her lap. She's tired, eyes are heavy.
But you have to be strong. You can't allow your faith to be overshadowed by guilt.
I'm trying.
Her eyes close.
I'm trying real hard.
Interior Ravenscar night. Angela's eyes open, and Angela, whose frightened features are dripping with a fever sweat. She's in a hospital gown, stares around a corner. Janitor polishes the floor in the distance. A nurse checks off charts in the foreground. And right between the two darts, Angela, unseen by anyone. Exterior rooftop night. A metal fire door swings open and Angela bursts out, breathing deep. She runs across the tar roof, almost afraid to look back. She gets to the ledge, steps up. Rooftop wider. Chilling April air flutters Angela's gown, vaporizes her breath. Tears stream down her cheeks as she contemplates the unthinkable. Cityscape of lights are spread out below, but Angela is seeing something else. Reflected in her eyes is a city engulfed in red flames. Follow that tear with the same reflection of fire inside as it traces her cheek and slips into her mouth. Angela shudders, rubs her wrist where we see the skin has swelled and reddened just like the prisoner's. And there's that same circular symbol in the flesh. She wipes her tears, tries to be strong, takes a few breaths for courage, then simply steps off. Interior Angela's apartment. Angela stirs awake, disturbed. Over this, we hear incessant coughing. Interior John's apartment, bathroom. John switches on the light, leans up from the sink and wipes his mouth with a towel. It's covered with blood. More runs down the drain. He stares at himself in the mirror. On John's worried eyes, match cut to Angela's eyes, looking equally distraught.
It's her, Angela.
Exterior Ravenscar Hospital, wider, continuous action, day. Angela is led by Detective Weiss past several officers and medical personnel.
It's Isabel.
They arrive at the covered body in the courtyard. Coroner sees Angela approach and lifts the sheet from the face. Angela comes to a dead stop, emotions coming fast and furious. She leans close and we see a mirror of Angela. That's when you realize that wasn't a dream. This is her twin. But that circular symbol is nowhere on her wrist now. Angela's eyes well with tears. It takes everything she has to stay in control, helps to wrap herself in the job. She steps back, looks up at the tall building.
She fell from the roof?
No, she jumped.
Angela gives him an incredulous glare, shakes her head.
I know it's hard to accept, but
Isabel would never in a million years take her own life. Never.
Angela, there was a surveillance camera on the roof.
Interior hospital, day. John marches down the hallway, his trench coat a step behind. He unconsciously rubs his left wrist, coughs, flicks an unlit smoke between his fingers. John stops at a doctor's office door, hesitates. Interior Ravenscar, surveillance footage. View of the rooftop. There's Isabel in her nightgown, stepping up, pausing just a second, then one step and she's gone. So clear, so unrefutable. Interior doctor's office. A line of light boxes illuminate several chest x-rays. A dark, sinister splotch snakes through both lungs. John stands there, stares at this wall of death with disbelief.
Nah, I've beaten things, insurmountable things, things most people have never even heard of. And after all that, you think I'm going to be done in by this?
He raises a puny little cigarette. Dr. Les Archer, 50, sighs. A delicate bedside manner is not his specialty.
You want to be the first, John?
It can't be that simple. I mean, come on, Les. You saved me before. You could do it again, right?
This is different. This is aggressive.
John tries to stay cool, fails. He trashes the x-ray boxes. Diseased lungs disappear. Doc shakes his head.
20 years ago, you didn't want to be here. Now you don't want to leave.
That's because I know exactly where I'm going this time.
Interior hallway. John steps outside of the doctor's office, pauses to gather himself. He starts walking, wants out of here fast. Interior Ravenscar hallway. Angela is on the move. Emotions are coming in strong. She can't get out of here fast enough. She aims for the elevator, sees a man has just entered one.
Wait, hold the door.
Angela gets to the elevator, looks in. John stands inside alone. This should be the first time we realize they were in the same hospital.
Going down?
John pauses as the doors start to close.
Not if I can help it.
The doors close right on Angela. Exterior somewhere in Istanbul day. A pickup truck crosses a barren landscape. In the back bed are several goats and the prison. He grips the relic tight in one hand. That anxious fever has returned. Glazed eyes dart to the side and lock on a rising jetliner in the distance. Dart back to the road they're on, heading the opposite way. Prisoner clamps his eyes tight, grips to the relic tighter. Eyes snap open and he turns, thrusts his elbow through the center window, leans in and grabs the driver, jerks his head back against the bulkhead, cracking it in the process. Prisoner latches onto the wheel, takes control. He swerves the car off the pavement, gets out and takes over as driver. Truck continues on, bouncing through a shallow ditch into the field beyond, aiming straight for the rising airliners in the distance. Interior Hennessy's apartment. Every wall of this tiny shithole is covered in aluminum foil. A sober Hennessy stands surrounded by decades of newspapers and periodicals, tries to get his breathing in check. He instinctively reaches to his neck to touch the amulet, but it's not there. Oh yeah, in the pocket. Decision made, he reaches up, starts tearing the foil from the walls and the window. Interior exterior Chaz's taxi day. Seen through a mild rain is the Theological Society building, a foreboding structure that looks out of place for this city. John stares out the backseat window, takes a swig from a bottle of hard liquor. He turns to Chaz.
I'm sure I can get you in here.
Chaz gives the building another glance, shoves the meter flag back down. Tick, tick, tick.
Pass.
Interior Theological Society later. A few bishops talk quietly. A cardinal studies scriptures. John walks through the vaulted chamber room to the library. John stops, fixes on the two gentlemen standing in front of a fireplace. One is a young androgynous man of pure class, wrapped in Armani's best. The other is Father Garrett. John stands to the side and waits for their conversation to end. An attendant makes the rounds.
Can I take your coat, Mr. Constantine?
No thanks. I'm not staying long.
How about you, ma'am?
Attendant turns to Angela, standing just a few feet away, her gaze fixed on the same two men.
Not staying long either.
John glances over, and for the second time, they make contact. Something about her eyes. John stares a bit too long. Angela looks back towards the fireplace.
My business with him is urgent.
First come, first served.
So you're rude no matter where you are.
John gives her a look. The two men shake hands and start to part. John and Angela make their move towards the men. Both are surprised when Angela goes for Father Garrett and John goes for the snob, officially known as Gabriel. Yes, that one. Father Garrett and Angela have retreated to another area for privacy.
Why is he stalling on this? My sister needs a Catholic funeral.
Angela, it's still considered a mortal sin.
She didn't commit suicide.
The bishop has read otherwise.
Father. David, this is Isabel. Please.
Father Garrett stares at her, tries to be compassionate.
I'll talk to him again.
But Angela has just lost a load of faith. By the fireplace, Gabriel sits in his chair, watches the fire with unblinking eyes. John approaches from behind, and against the backdrop of flame, sees the nebulous shape of wings. The ghostly image is visible for only a heartbeat.
I know what you want, son.
John sits across from him.
Been keeping your all-seeing eye on me, have you, Gabriel?
I could offer how a shepherd leads even the most wayward of his flock, but it might sound disingenuous.
So you're gonna make me beg?
It wouldn't help. You've already wasted your chance at redemption.
What about the minions I've sent back, the souls I've saved? That should guarantee my passage across.
No. Passage requires faith, and faith by definition is belief without proof. You have proof, and that means you're not playing by the same rules as everyone else. Your work has mostly been for selfish reasons. I'm sorry.
This is bullshit! Bullshit!
Angela looks over at them curiously.
It's like you've got some cosmic scale weighing everything we do. Help an old lady across the street, put in a nickel. Kick a dog, take out a dime. You're fucking nickel and diming us to death down here.
John jumps up, leans into his face.
And you know what? You're the ones with the problem, not us. You make these impossible rules to decide who goes up, who goes down, and you don't even understand us.
This, more than anything, gets under Gabriel's skin.
Each of you is born with the promise of salvation preordained. The cost of your redemption is simple belief. And yet, you whine about impossible rules. Sometimes I imagine you hardly deserve the gift you've been given.
Gift? More like curse the way you manage things. You're the one that should go to hell, half-breed.
Gabriel stands and towers over John.
I am taking your situation into account, John, but don't push me.
Why me, Gabriel? It's personal, isn't it? I didn't go to church enough. I didn't pray enough. I was $5 short on the collection plate. Why?
Gabriel moves right up to him, makes this very personal.
You're going to die because you smoked 30 cigarettes a day since you were 15. And you're going to hell, because the life that you led and the life that you took. Basically, you're fucked.
Exterior Theological Society, minutes later. Angela stands on the porch at the edge of a downpour. She hears a cough, looks over to see John standing on the other side, looking equally frayed. They share another glance. John fishes a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, empty.
He has a rotten sense of humor. And his punchlines are killer.
John tosses the cigarette pack, walks right into the rain, away from Chaz's taxi pulling up.
John, it's raining. Hey, Constantine.
Angela watches John disappear in the rain, looks down at the empty cigarette pack. Dissolved 2, interior Hennessy's apartment, a cigarette pack, lies on the floor next to food wrappers, Coke bottles, and stacks of newspapers. Hennessy sits amongst the garbage, slumped over, but he's not sleeping. He's surfing the ether, allowing his sixth sense to guide him. His hands move down and across the stacks of newer periodicals, fingers probing the layers of information. Left hand suddenly stops. Hennessy's eyes open. He removes the layers of periodicals on top of his left hand, leans close, edges his fingers away and sees an obituary, a name, Isabel Dodson. Exterior LA streets, evening. John walks the streets, numb to the world. A rat scurries past near the curb, then another. Several crows fly by. Above him is a billboard. Your time is running out. Doesn't matter that below it is to buy a new Chevy. The point is crystal clear. John shakes his head, breaks out laughing, which quickly turns into a coughing fit. He leans to a gutter. Another rat scoots past. John barely notices. Then a frog jumps past, but it's the crab crawling by that finally catches John's gaze.
Hey, buddy, you got a light?
John turns, settles on a silhouetted figure standing behind him, unlit cigarette butt in its mouth.
We gotta stick together, right?
John gathers himself. As he walks over to this old man, he rummages through his coat pocket, retrieves a matchbox. The box shudders as a high-pitched fluttering filters from inside. Old man winces as his entire body vibrates. John realizes this is Beeman's matchbox, the one with the screech beetle inside. And now he knows, a beat too late. Old man attacks. John is knocked onto his haunches. As the old man closes in, he's revealed in more detail. Body and face are actually an intricate puzzle, an assemblage of city vermin. Rats, insects, crows, frogs, crabs, all held together in the shape of a man. John scampers backwards, just inches from this being's outstretched grasp. He shakes the matchbox and the screech beetle inside flutters again. Old man / demon cringes as his entire body vibrates apart for a second, then snaps back together. He grabs onto John with fingers of squirming vermin. A snake wraps around his wrist. Crab snaps at his skin. John shakes the beetle box harder, causing the parts to vibrate even further. Old man grabs John's head, and vermin of various leg count crawl right into John's face. John's had enough. Shakes the matchbox violently, then smashes it against the sidewalk. Beetle lets out a death shriek and the old man stutters. His parts vibrating so wildly you can actually see the background through the seams. John scampers loose, grabs a road barricade, and swings it with all of his might. Old man form shatters on impact. The entire mess collapses to the ground in a flood of scattering critters. John starts stomping on them as they scatter into the city. John stands there shocked and concerned. What the hell is going on? Interior Angela's apartment day. That surveillance video footage from Ravenscar plays again. There's Isabel in her nightgown walking across the roof. Spread out on a cluttered coffee table is Isabel's case file. Coroner's report is opened. Let's see, no drugs in system and the biggie. Cause of death, suicide. Angela sits on the couch in her robe, disheveled and distraught. She's taking this hard.
Sorry, Isabel.
She lowers her head, and in that brief moment of silence, Angela snaps back to the TV, freezes in shock. There's Isabel ready to jump, but this time she's looking right back at us, at Angela. Then she's gone. Angela quickly rewinds the tape and watches the sequence again. This time Isabel doesn't look back. This time there is no name, but Angela did see it, did hear it. She sits for a second, stunned. Interior Midnight's office. John paces as Midnight works on that universal orrery, adjusting components, but balance continues to elude it.
A few months, maybe a year. That's it. End of story. Game over. Don't break down on my account.
What do you want from me? A shoulder to cry on?
This bastard attacked me right out in the open, on Sepulveda no less.
They don't like you, John. You reported how many back to hell?
That's just it. This wasn't some possession or wayward half-breed. It was a full-fledged demon Midnight, here, on our plane.
Right.
I know what I saw.
You must have just been crossed over and didn't even realize.
I didn't cross over. It was on this side, here.
It's wet out, you're wandering around aimlessly, not to mention completely emotional.
Emotional?
John slams a fist against the counter. The orrery almost topples, but Midnight saves it. Decades of work almost lost. Midnight glares at a desperate John.
Okay. So you saw something. You've seen a few small ones slip through now and then.
It's more than that. First a girl, then this.
John, you know my connections. Any shifts or tremors in the planes, and I'd hear about it.
Something's coming.
Interior LAPD office later. The name John Constantine is center screen on a monitor, typed into the police station's search engine. Angela sits alone in the squad room, rain streaking across the windows. Interpol comes back with results and a list of priors scroll under John's name. Must be 100 parking violations, several speeding tickets, and a few reckless endangerment. In fact, John's license has been revoked. But it's the other incidents that draw Angela in. Brief close-ups, specific words, and a few headlines. Occult activity on the rise. Claimed possession is refuted by Bishop. Satanic cult dissolved. Accompanies with an assortment of unusual case photos. Blood patterns on a wall. Odd symbols burned into a ceiling. A cross burnt to a crisp. John in handcuffs looking back at a mother holding her son in her arms. A younger and more noble Father Hennessy stands beside them looking grateful. Another line, insufficient evidence to prosecute. Angela scrolls, sees cities listed where John has made waves. London, Paris, Rome, Budapest, Moscow. Stops on the one that matters, Los Angeles, and there's an address. Angela hits print and the HP hums away. A desk phone rings. Angela quickly looks around, sees she's the only one here. She gets up, answers it.
LAPD, this is Dotson. Hello?
Dead air. The next phone rings. Angela reaches for it when the next one rings, and the next. The rings hop phone to phone in intimidating mockery. Angela freezes, forces herself to stay calm. Sure enough, the rings abruptly cease. Angela reaches over, rips the page from the printer, and leaves. Interior Istanbul airport day. A police guard scans passengers and a printout of the prisoner. He walks past a man standing in the metal detector line. This is actually the prisoner wearing the clothes and glasses of the driver. Is that a bloodstain on the lapel? Sweat drops from his forehead, and he nervously places the iron relic in a bag he took from the truck driver. He has no choice but to place it on the conveyor belt. Mysterious POV watching the prisoner. He looks back at us, suspicious, nothing there. Prisoner looks back nervously as his bag goes to the detector. Detector screen shows the folds of the bag, a wallet, a passport, and nothing else. The iron relic doesn't even produce an outline. Bag slides out untouched. Prisoner can't believe his luck, grabs the bag and walks on towards the gates. Exterior Los Angeles, night. Various of the city. The contrast between the bright and cheerful and the dark and mysterious. That abandoned mission behind Bob's Big Boy, the Islamic temple wedged between competing banks, come to rest on the towering statue of the Good Shepherd. His hands are welcoming us into the Holy Cross Cemetery. Right across the street is the 20 Lanes bowling alley. Interior 20 Lanes, the bar. John drinks alone, pissed at life, at death. That small black box of his lies on the table unopened. Spider runs across the table. John flips an empty glass, traps it underneath. He takes a drag on his cigarette, tips the glass, and blows smoke inside. Spider can't escape the poison air, bumps the glass, trapped, dying.
Welcome to my life.
Mr. Constantine,
John looks up, spots Angela, those eyes again.
I saw you at,
I remember.
and again,
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you a few questions.
I'm not really in the talking mood right now.
Could you just listen then?
Angela sets her LAPD detective badge on the table.
Please.
Always a catch.
Angela sits across from him, puts the badge away.
My sister was murdered last week.
I'm sorry to hear.
Her name was Isabel. Isabel Dodson. Did you know her?
Never met her.
You sure?
She look anything like you? I would have remembered.
Another beat as their eyes meet. John looks away.
She was a patient at Ravenscar. Then last Tuesday, she just decided to step off the roof.
I thought you said she was murdered.
Isabel would never take her own life.
You'd be surprised what people will do.
Look, I know I'm not making much sense. Hell, I'm not even really sure what I'm doing here. I just feel the circles you travel in, the cults, demonology, exorcisms.
John just stares at that spider in the glass, trapped.
I believe someone got to her, Mr. Constantine, brainwashed her into stepping off that roof, some kind of legion or cult.
Sounds like a theory. Good luck.
I thought with your background and experience, you could at least point me in the right direction.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
John points towards the exit. Angela is not amused, but she's not giving up.
My sister was a Catholic. She always talked about a world better than this, heaven, as some call it. She wasn't afraid of dying because she knew it was waiting for her. What everyone fails to grasp is that if she had really taken her own life, that she would have
committed a mortal sin, and her soul would have gone straight to hell, where it would never feel love or compassion or anything but pain again, as her soul was ripped apart over and over for all eternity. That about right?
The words have hit so hard that Angela is speechless. John sees the hurt in her eyes, would like to take it back, but it's too late. She turns and starts out, slows.
God damn you.
She lifts the glass on the table and lets the spider free. John tries not to let her get to him. She leaves. He glances out the window, watches her pass by. So long, good riddance. But something's not right. Those deep shadows on the building seem to be moving. John watches confused, realizes they're heading in Angela's direction.
Shit.
Exterior 20 lanes bowling alley night. Cars are lined all the way down the street. Angela walks along the sidewalk, unaware of the shadow following her. It's joined by another in the trees, both closing in with each step.
Detective!
Angela looks back, sees John in the street coming towards her.
How open is your mind?
She doesn't answer, continues walking. What she doesn't see are the shadows seeping back into the fringes, but John does. He starts walking towards her.
Do you believe in heaven and hell? How about what comes out of each?
You mean like angels?
And demons?
Angela stares at him, continues walking. He keeps up.
See, you don't have the mindset for this kind of work.
They walk together down the lonely street.
Look, I see terrible things every day. A mother drowns her baby. A 10-year-old shoots his father. But it's not demons. People are evil, Mr. Constantine.
Behind them, a streetlight blinks out, then another. They're not looking back, so they don't see it.
You're right. We're capable of terrible things, but we usually justify it with motives like money, power, jealousy.
Another light fizzes, blinks out.
And sometimes something comes along, gives us just the right nudge, and we do truly evil things just for the kick of it.
I don't believe in demons.
You should. They believe in you.
They pass another street lamp as it goes bright, then blacks out. Both look up. The next lamp flares, then fizzes out. Angela turns and sees that there are no lights behind them. She looks to John, but he's staring straight ahead, because now the light in front of them is flaring bright.
We should go. Now.
A second later, it blinks off. John grabs her hand. Angela's confusion turns to tension as a raspy, guttural wind races towards them. John jerks her into action. They run towards the next light. It blinks out right when they reach it. They race to stay in the light, aiming towards the safety of the brightly lit statue of the Good Shepherd. Exterior Holy Cross Cemetery. They make it through the gate, pass through an alley of overhanging trees. Something ripples through the branches, flitters right past Angela's face. She swats at it, manages to get a branch across the cheek. They near the Good Shepherd and the floodlights flicker, fade out. Statues of saints become dark monoliths. John stops in an open area between trees and a mausoleum. A lit cross on the wall provides the only illumination. Angela feels the scratch on her cheek, sees a trickle of blood. Now she hears sounds in the darkness, like leather rubbing, surrounding them.
What is that?
Wings.
Wings?
John rummages through his trench coat, fishes out that cloth Beeman gave him, the one that was supposedly wrapped around Moses.
Maybe talons.
The cross is getting dimmer and dimmer.
Are you kidding? Of what?
Something that's not supposed to be here.
John quickly wraps the cloth tight around his hand. Angela spins, eyes seeing only darkness as the sounds get closer, ghastly sound of movement in the fringes of light. The cross now resembles a dying wire filament, and with every second, the circle of light gets smaller and those sounds get closer. John takes out his special lighter.
Close your eyes.
Why?
Suit yourself.
The light goes out and they are left in pitch blackness. John flicks the lighter and in one powerful motion sweeps his arm up as he lights his hand. Sacred cloth catches fire, then ignites with a brilliant retina-searing flash, blinding Angela and illuminating a circle of winged demons, a roiling broth of reptilian death right there, ready to pounce. Red flame radiates from the cloth and demons shriek as they are instantly vaporized. John tucks his burning hand into a coat pocket, extinguishes the flame. He leans down to a rubbery stain left from one of the burnt demon carcasses, shakes his head in disbelief.
I accidentally crossed over. I don't think so.
What was that? I saw wings and they were flying. And what the hell were those things?
They weren't angels.
John scans the area, trying to think this through.
Seplovites, actually. Scavengers of the damned. Demons.
What? You can't be serious. This is impossible.
Yeah. And I don't think they were after me. You really believe she wouldn't commit suicide?
My sister? Never in a million years.
Let's be sure.
How?
Simple. Let's see if she's in hell.
Exterior LA County Morgue, night. Not exactly an inviting place. Hennessy steps off the curb and looks up at his destination. Interior Angela's apartment, night. John stares at a photo of Angela and her father in police uniform, obviously happier times. Angela walks out of her bedroom holding a cardboard box. The gray cat follows close to her heels.
These are all Isabel's things.
The cat, too.
Yeah, why?
John ignores the box of items and picks up the cat. He studies it a bit, then sits back in a chair with it.
Cats are good. Half in, half out.
Don't you need candles and a pentagram for this to work?
Why? Do you have any?
John puts his feet, shoes and all, into a bucket of water.
I need you to step outside now. Angela, please.
Angela reluctantly moves towards the exit. John holds the cat, stares into its huge, unblinking eyes. There's a moment where animal and man seem to connect. The water around John's feet begins to boil. Angela pushes the door closed behind her, but it slows on its way to latch. Bulbs pulsate as current ramps down. The room flickers, is suddenly caught in a ghostly dim half-light, and John has now crossed over into apartment in hell. Same layout, different decorator. John takes a deep, raspy breath, slowly stands. He turns to the wall behind him, which is torn away, looking like some half-bombed structure in Beirut. Beyond the wall is no longer the blackness of the nightscape, but a sickly sepia glow. Not quite day, not quite night. John steps over the crumbling wall into exterior hell, Los Angeles. John walks out onto the top overpass of a crumbling maze of intersecting freeways. Burnt out husks of long forgotten vehicles sit in rows of gridlock. A low drone penetrates the silence. On the horizon is a dying red sun. It strains to cut through the putrid brown haze. John cautiously steps closer to the railing, looks down to the ribbons of twisting streets below. They're crammed with teeming masses of the damned, all walking down in silence, faces numb with sorrow and grief. That low drone rises in pitch, and John now spots a huge blanket-like blackness crawling over the cityscape, rapidly closing in on him. You get the feeling this isn't a safe place for living. John suddenly locks on something far off. On top of a distant skyscraper is a female figure in a sheer white gown. John can't quite make out her face, but knows she's looking right at him.
Isabel.
She lifts something and tosses it. John watches as a small object tumbles towards him just ahead of closing darkness. Interior Angela's apartment hallway. In that same motion we left her in, Angela finishes pushing the door closed. As it latches,
Angela.
Confused, Angela pushes the door back open. The cat bolts out. Angela catches her breath, moves inside. Interior living room. John sits slumped in the chair, drained. Steam rises off his skin. Angela sees the water in the bucket has almost all boiled out. She walks in, kneels down to him.
John, what happened?
You were twins.
What did you say?
She killed herself. And she's damned for it.
Sweat drips off as he looks up. He opens his palm, reveals to Angela a simple hospital band. The name Isabel Dodson is typed on it. Even as a semi-convert, this news completely floors Angela. She takes the plastic band, grips it tight, tries to hold herself together. The adrenaline and pain overwhelm. Her knees buckle and she drops to the floor. John watches, isn't sure how to help. He finally reaches out a single hand, slowly rests it on her shoulder. The contact seems to open a floodgate of emotion, and Angela falls right into his arms. John hasn't been this close to anyone in a long time. Angela finally composes herself.
How possible?
John tries not to stare into those eyes too long, fails. Interior LA County Morgue, night. Body drawer slides open, reveals Isabel, lying in a cold, sterile room of death, a hell of a different type. Hennessy stares down at her, looks around the room again, makes sure he's still alone. He reaches in, rips open the protective plastic, and lowers his hand inside. Places it first on her forehead. Nothing. Then on her chest. Nothing. Wrist is last. Hennessy shudders. This is it. He closes his eyes and opens himself to the void.
When I was a kid, I saw things.
Flashback, exterior street, day. A 10-year-old John comes out of a corner store with milk in a bag. He slows, eyes a man in a mailbox.
Things I wasn't supposed to.
The man looks right at young John as he passes. His face is distorted and his feet have sprouted roots which are dug into the ground. Interior diner, night, present. Angela sits across from John at a table. They're at the table by the window.
My parents sent me to a doctor, shrink, a priest. I was in 4 different institutions by the time I was 18.
Angela notes him rubbing his wrist.
The last place they put me was run by a church.
Flashback, interior mental institution, hallway. A doctor rushes towards distant screaming.
The revered father made the brilliant deduction. I was possessed, said I needed to be exorcised.
Interior room, high angle. The doctor runs in, sees the revered father below, leaning over a bed, where an 18-year-old John is held down by 3 interns and that doctor. John angrily screams at them all.
It was like someone trying to pull teeth that weren't there.
Young John clamps his eyes shut tight. Interior diner, John, present. Present day John does the same, remembering the pain.
So I took things into my own hands. I found a way out. You attempted suicide.
John sees she's looking at his wrist. The hint of a jagged scar can now be seen under the sleeve.
I never attempt anything.
Flashback, teenage John as he's jolted by defib pads. Interior ambulance moving. Paramedics are soaked in sweat. One looks a bit like a young Dr. Archer. Heart monitor is flatlined. There's little hope. Exterior Los Angeles. The ambulance moves through a city that is transforming. From this world's Los Angeles to a barren hell version.
Officially, I was dead for 7 minutes, but believe me, 7 minutes is hell is a lifetime.
Ambulance heads towards that dying red sun. Interior ambulance. Flatline on the monitor suddenly spikes with a pulse. Interior morgue present. Hennessy's hand jerks back from the plastic. His eyes fix on Isabel's wrist. That odd circular symbol is back. Hennessy's unsettled, quickly shoves the drawer closed. He rushes out, slams right into a security guard coming in.
Hey, what are you doing in here?
Guard looks back into the body room, sees a drawer partially open. He walks over, pulls it out further, sees the plastic cut away. Jesus, the symbol has already faded from Isabel's wrist.
When I returned, I didn't just see demons anymore. I could do the one thing they couldn't. Come and go as I please.
Exterior morgue, Hennessy. He runs as fast as a very obese man can, aiming for that phone booth on the corner. He grabs the receiver, punches numbers as fast as he can. Ring, ring, ring.
Be there, John. Please.
Something shivers up Hennessy's leg and into his body. Eyes glaze over and Hennessy settles on a liquor store.
Heaven and hell are right here, behind every wall, every face. The world behind the world. It's crossing over that's the real trick. That's why most demons can only whisper in our ears. But even a whisper can turn your favorite pleasure into your worst nightmare.
Interior late night liquor store. Hennessy barges in, heads for the hard liquor. He's on a quest for alcohol, and it's everywhere. He starts grabbing bottles right off the shelves, pouring them directly into his mouth, but the liquid bounces off his lips as though there's saran wrap over his mouth. Even though he's drinking anything in sight, none of it seems to be getting ingested. In the middle of all this chaos is one customer calmly perusing the aisles of the store, Balthazar. Hennessy begins breaking bottles open and pouring them into his mouth to no avail. His strength is withering away. Desperate, he grabs a wine bottle opener, digs it into his own hand repeatedly, carving something into it. The liquor store clerk rushes up and grabs onto Hennessy, holding him on the floor as he drowns in the alcohol that he apparently was consuming but was blinded to.
But the worst demons are the ones we're allowed to be here. The ones that are half human, so they blend in.
Balthazar looks to the store clerk holding Hennessy and starts towards the back exit. Store clerk looks up, meets Balthazar's eyes. Balthazar grins, flips that coin between his fingers. He exits.
just like those with the angel's touch, living alongside of us. Half-breeds.
The clerk lowers Hennessy to the floor, dead. For a moment, we see him framed against the front doorway, and in that instant, we get a brief glimpse of wings reflected in the glass doors.
They call it balance. I call it hypocritical bullshit.
Interior diner.
So when one of them gets a little cocky, peddles their influence or hijacks a soul, I deport their sorry ass right back to hell. I didn't get all of them, but maybe enough to ensure my retirement.
Sounds like you're trying to buy your way into heaven.
What would you do if you were sentenced to a prison where half the inmates were put there by you?
Why you? I mean, many go to hell. Why were you able to escape?
I don't know.
God has a plan for all of us.
Not for me.
Isabel saw things too.
John looks up. Moment is lost when her cellular rings. The cop in her reacts, flips it open.
Detective Dodson here.
Exterior liquor store later. The morgue is seen across the street. The guard that chased Hennessy is just outside.
Security guard spotted him near the body, chased him out.
We move past Angela standing with Weiss. Around them is a complete shambles of liquor bottles.
He comes over here, makes a run at the entire inventory, and drowns himself in it.
Come to rest on John's shattered face. He stares down at Hennessy. John leans down to the remains of his friend. A cop starts to intervene, but Angela blocks him. Let him be. John has trouble taking this in, reluctantly reaches into Hennessy's coat pocket, finds the protective amulet he himself removed from his friend. That's even more crushing.
Shit. Why didn't you call me, you son of a bitch?
John lowers his head, then spots bloodstains on one of Hennessy's hands. He opens the fingers, studies the wound. The blood is already drying over it. John reaches over to the mess on the floor and grabs a melting ice cube. He pushes it into Hennessy's hand, wiping away the dried blood. It quickly becomes apparent this isn't random stabbing. This is a shape. John takes a napkin, lays it on the palm, and presses. Residual blood creates a symbol onto the napkin. It's the same circular symbol we saw on Isabel's wrist. John doesn't know what it is, but he knows it's important.
Rest in peace, Father.
Interior 20 lanes behind the lanes. With a loud crowd and 20 huge pen machines grinding away, the noise back here is deafening. But this is Beeman's home. See the desk, the TV, the fold-away bed. Beeman is on the phone. There's a conversation, but it's way too noisy to hear. All we see are the emotions on Beeman's face. No doubt news of Hennessy's death is one of the biggies. Beeman quickly reaches for a marker, puts it to paper, and starts drawing, listening and drawing. He's finished, hangs up, stares at the symbol. That cabinet with the ancient books now gets his attention.
I need to see where Isabel died.
Exterior East LA night. Graffiti-adorned walls give way to a tall iron fence, heavily shadowed grounds, and finally the 6-story hospital complex of Ravenscar. Dim-lit figure stands on the roof, but this one isn't wearing a hospital gown. He's wearing a trench coat.
Seance, crystals, channeling. My father thought she was just trying to get attention. She certainly did that.
Exterior rooftop. Angela stands behind John.
She'd tell everyone about things she said, she saw, like crazy things, things that hadn't happened yet. She'd scare my mother to death, talking on and on about revelations and the end of the world. Then one day she just stopped, never said another word.
So you put her in here.
Angela doesn't need to be reminded. It hurts her even more now.
Show me your room.
Interior Isabel's room. John steps inside, gives the sterile room a thorough scan.
How long?
2 months this time.
He pulls out a drawer, looks at the bottom.
I already did that.
John runs his hands under the steel bed frame.
Now you're insulting me.
You don't walk off a building without leaving something behind.
You saw everything she left behind in that box.
Maybe she left something else, something more personal, just for you. You were a twin, Angela. Twins tend to think alike.
Not like my sister.
But you were at one time. When you were kids, you'd spend every waking hour with each other. You'd start a sentence, she'd finish it. You get hurt, she'd cry.
That was a long time ago.
The kind of bond just doesn't disappear.
There's nothing here.
Angela seems unbalanced. John gets more aggressive.
She planned her death in this room. She thought it right up to where you're standing.
Angela backs away. John advances.
She knew you'd come. She counted on you to see what she saw, feel what she felt, do what she did. What did she do, Angela?
How should I know?
What did she do, Angela?
I don't know.
What would you do?
Angela backs into a wall. Nowhere else to go now.
What would you leave her? What would it be? Where would it be? Where would it be, Angela?
Angela lashes out, shoves John hard, pushing him out of her way. She turns to the window, almost hyperventilating. John stays back, watches. Angela opens her eyes. The tension seems to flow right out of her when she sees
The tree.
exterior courtyard night. A lone tree stands in the center of the lit courtyard. John and Angela approach it, examine it. Nothing. John drops lower on the tree to a child's height. Finally sees something near the ground, gestures to Angela. She kneels down next to him, sees what he sees, that same symbol, the one Hennessy carved into his hand, but this time there's more.
There must have been a tree in our backyard when we were kids.
John may not be buying it, but he's not saying anything. His fingers trace these words carved below the symbol.
Corinthians 14:1.
Core?
Corinthians.
John, there's no 14th act in Corinthians.
Corinthians goes to 21 acts in the book of Athenius. The Bible in hell.
They have Bibles in hell?
Interior hospital chapel, minutes later. Several families sit in solemn prayer. The pastor comforts a man and wife. John and Angela slip through, head for the shelves of reference books on the back wall. They whisper.
It's like a dark mirror of the Bible, paints a different view of Revelations. Says the world will not come to an end at the hand of God, but be reborn in the embrace of the damned.
There's a difference?
Depends on which side of the fence you're standing.
John stops, casually sticks his hand in the pastor's bowl of holy water near the altar.
So, why haven't I seen this book before?
Because it doesn't exist on this side.
John closes his eyes and the water in the bowl begins to boil.
What do you mean?
Flickering candlelight slows to a stop, catching Angela mid-question and the room in that dim half-light. John turns and is inside, same chapel, hell, the epitome of blasphemy, a church in hell. Only they don't worship God in here, and that's not Christ on the cross, and those stained glass windows are now slate black. John is now facing books with completely different markings. He searches as a drone rises in pitch, and an inky blackness begins to flow down the walls, getting closer to John with each heartbeat. He finds the book, steps back as he closes his eyes. Regular chapel.
Not here on this side?
John turns, covered in sweat. He's holding a book she's never seen, is already flipping through it.
Where did that come from?
13:29, 13:30. Here. Corinthians 14:1. The sins of the father would only be exceeded by the ego of the son.
Whose son?
The symbol isn't a demon's. That's why I couldn't place it. That wasn't a normal possession.
John, what are you talking about?
They can't cross over. It's impossible to cross over.
Whose son? God's?
No, the other one. Lucifer had a son too.
Interior, 20 lanes, behind the lanes. Beeman sits under the glow of a desk lamp. The narrow alley of machines stretches out behind him. He stares into the scrolls, an ancient book with a single page folded 1,000 times. Turns another page. Bowling area. Amazing how disturbing a bowling alley is when it's closed. Rows of empty lanes stretching into darkness. The unlit pin areas looking like the jaws of an army of beasts.
Oh my.
Behind the lanes, Beeman has stopped turning pages. That's because he's now staring at an etching of the same symbol. Below are ink drawings of a ghastly beast rising up through a body. But it's what's above the beast that is most troubling. A figure on a cross, his arms outstretched, seemingly welcoming the beast into this world.
This is not good.
Bowling ball hits a lane. Beeman spins to the sound. Ball rolls round and round, closer and closer, until it clings dead against the back wall of one of the lanes. Beeman gets up, starts down the corridor of dormant pin machines. He stops at lane 13, leans way down past the machinery, and peeks out the pinhole.
John?
Exterior LA streets, night. Angela's SUV races quickly through traffic while John gets her up to speed. Interior SUV.
The myth says Mammon was conceived before his father's fall, from grace, but was born after. Unlike his old man, he's never been in the presence of the Creator, so he has no fear of him, no respect either. It goes double for us, God's most prized creations. Mammon would be the last demon we'd ever want crossing over.
But demons can't come and go. That's what you said.
Unless they find a bridge. Some psychic with the chops to reach all the way to hell, and the grit to withstand whatever shit she pull out.
Isabel.
But even a bridge wouldn't help Mammon. Could cross over, the myth said he'd still need the one thing he could never get. Divine assistance. The help of God.
So it's impossible.
Possible. Sure. Seems impossible. That's what makes it so dangerous. These things exist to break the rules, find loopholes. If the past is any indication, the future isn't on our side.
She knew. That's why she killed herself. It doesn't make sense.
Makes sense to me.
John, she sacrificed herself to beat him. Why is she in hell?
One of those rare moments where John has no answer. Interior 20 lanes bowling alley. Something small and shiny is rolling down the alley. It lands in the trough, spins round and round. Beeman leans out to try and see what it is. The silver object keeps spinning. He waits for it to stop, swats a bee near his face, then another. The book on his desk ignites in flame. Exterior 20 lanes, night. SUV pulls into the empty parking lot. John is out before Angela gets it in park, unlocks the side door. A few bees escape to freedom as he opens the door. John rushes in. Interior 20 lanes bowling alley. Only a low hum pervades the dead stillness of the alley.
Beeman!
John grabs the door that leads behind the pin area. It's locked from the other side.
Hey, Beeman! Beeman!
The low hum fluctuates, sounds like a buzzing.
Maybe he's not here.
He's always here.
Several more bees flit by him. This time John notices, turns and spots the source of the hum, a cloud of bees near the center aisles. Angela follows his gaze, spots them as well.
What?
John heads across the lanes. The swarm gets thicker and thicker. Angela keeps up with him, covers her mouth. They approach the pin area of the center lane. The source of the swarm is slowly revealed. In the catch trough is a solid mound of flies. John leans closer, spots a hand protruding from the mound.
Oh, Jesus, no.
He rips his coat off, flings it at the mound, and a million bees scatter, revealing the body of Beeman, ravaged, bees pouring out of his mouth, his ears.
This is my fault. I sent them in. I sent them right to their deaths. I'm a goddamn one-man plague.
Interior, exterior, John's apartment night. John sits in his open window, simmering. He holds a lit cigarette, but doesn't dare put it to his lips. Outside, the city goes about its unending churn. Down on the street are several police vehicles. Engines start and they drive away. Swirl of blue and red lights flash across John's moist eyes.
There were no trees in our backyard.
John finds Angela across the room in his doorway.
But you knew that already, didn't you?
John meets her eyes, sees the questions piling up.
You see something in me. Something Isabel had.
Go home, Angela.
I need to understand. Why not?
Because you open up to that world, you're inviting whatever's out there back in. That's what happened to Isabel.
I'm not Isabel.
No, she embraced her gift. Well, you denied yours, and that denial is exactly why you're still alive. Stick with me, that'll change. I don't need another ghost following me around.
Damn it, John. They killed my sister. I can't let them get away with that. Even if this means going down the same path she did. Now, if you won't help me get there, I'll find my own way. But I won't run. Not again.
The two stand there, locked in this moment.
Leaves.
John can't believe this day. Looks her dead in the eye.
You do this, there's no turning back. You see them, they see you. Understand?
Interior John's apartment bathroom later. Water is pouring into an old-fashioned clawfoot tub.
Do I take my clothes off or leave them on? John?
I'm thinking.
John?
On is fine.
John fills the 70-year-old porcelain bathtub. Angela stands in the center.
Why water?
It's a universal conduit, lubricates the transition from one plane to another. Now, ask me if there's water in hell.
John turns off the faucet.
Sit.
Angela grabs his shoulder for balance, lowers herself. When she's sitting, the water is all the way to her neck.
Normally only a portion of the body has to be suspended, but you wanted the crash course.
What will I see?
Just lie down.
Lie down? Ugh. Lie down?
You have to be fully submerged,
For how long?
as long as it takes.
John cups the back of her neck, holds her face just above the water as she lowers down. Her breathing is picking up. John leans over the tub, looks straight down at her.
Last chance. Take a deep one.
Angela takes a deep breath, holds it. John pulls his hand away, and she settles to the bottom, her eyes riveted on his the entire time. Angela's POV. A silent John ripples above. His hand grips her arm, skin to skin. Back to scene. Angela lies there and panic sets in. She starts to surface, but John pushes her head back to the bottom, holds it firm. Her eyes dart about. Air is running out. She can't hold her breath much longer. It's not working. But the room's lighting begins to pulsate as if the current were ramping down. It slows to that dim half-light as John's eyes close, a single blink. Angela is lying in now boiling water, screaming for all of her life. Water muffles the sound, but not the fury. Huge tub shudders hard, snapping out of the hold-down bolts. John is stunned. How powerful is this woman? Another scream and the inch-thick tub cracks. Water starts streaming onto the tile. John lunges, grabs Angela, and pulls her up from the water. Her muffled screams shattering the air as her mouth breaks the surface. She slams hard against his chest, arms wrapping tight, fingers digging into his back. Tub gives way and the dam breaks. John and Angela go down, hit the tile as one, water washing over them both. Angela lies there on top of John, trembling. She looks up at him, eyes filled with revelation.
All those people. My God. Those people. I've always known where the bad guys are, where to aim, when to duck. It's not luck. I've always known.
Tears stream down her cheeks. John reaches out to touch her when her eyes clamp tight in pain.
Angela.
Eyes snap open and she's off him in a second, runs out. John pries himself from the tile, goes after her. Interior behind the alley. Angela runs behind the vertebrae of machines, dripping water the entire way. John tries to keep up.
It was rolling toward him, not a ball, something smaller, shiny.
She stops, kneels to the floor. John walks up to join her. Something glints in the catch trough. She reaches down, plucks it up, and brings an odd coin into view. John's face contorts with rage as he takes the familiar coin.
Balthazar.
Interior John's apartment later. Beeman's bowling bag is flipped and the contents are dumped onto a table. Powder, bugs, and bullets go everywhere. John retrieves the odd-tipped bullets. Those brass knuckles and that copper pipe are taken also. Christian relics are removed from a display cabinet. There's the pure platinum flask of divinity, the petrified husk from the river of life, the hollow shaft of an iron cross, all striking pieces individually, but when twisted and locked together, form a very imposing holy shotgun. He swings the cross down, pours a pound of blasting powder into the husk, chambers a special bullet into one of the 10 barrels, snaps it shut, turns, and fires. Bullet leaves a trail of flame as it streaks across his endless apartment, blasts the center out of a carton of Lucky Strikes. Settle on the Surgeon General's warning, burning away. Interior John's apartment later. John is stuffing the bowling bag while Angela watches, now dressed in dry clothes. The shirt is John's.
Can you kill him? What about the balance?
That half-breed tipped my scales when he started killing my friends. I'm just adding a little counterweight.
What about me? I can't stay here forever.
John turns to her, locks on those eyes. He reaches into his coat pocket as he walks up to her. She shudders as his arms wrap around her face, and for a beat, they're cheek to cheek. When he pulls back, she sees he has clipped Hennessy's amulet around her neck.
Think of it as a bulletproof vest.
So I'm going.
You're staying in the car.
Interior, exterior 20 lanes dawn. Fat ass tires burn under the full torque of a 426 Hemi. A jet black 70s Barracuda blasts from the basement garage of 20 lanes, slides onto the streets of LA. Angela hangs on as John grabs the skull shifter knob, slams into second, leaves another layer of tread behind. Exterior ocean. Flying over the ocean, a 747 roars right over us. Dipping out of cloud cover, it reveals the coast of a sprawling metropolis stretched out miles below. LA landmarks streak past. The Big Donut, the occult bookstores, the 57 Chevy sign, that mission in the park. This is actually the POV from John's Barracuda. He downshifts, drifts past a building with a facade of pre-stressed concrete and huge gold letters. BZR Finance and Brokerage.
This shouldn't take long.
Interior BZR Brokerage. Elevator opens and John steps out into a lobby of concrete and glass. Pretentious design screams money, lots of it. Since trading is still a half hour away, the place is practically empty. Across the room, a stainless steel door hisses open. John looks the other way as a security guard exits. Thick door glides closed, seals with another hiss, no way in. John notices the janitor down one hallway. It's Nico from Midnight's. He and John lock stairs. Nico opens a security-only door, steps inside, leaves the door open. Interior trading room. Monitors are powering up around the room. A few of those young businessmen we last saw at Midnight's are here. Balthazar walks through, looking every bit like the smug and successful businessman he is. He stops at a long mirror on one wall, adjusts his collar, his hair, his look. As Balthazar admires himself, his reflection distorts slightly. The demon in him? He touches his face, does a vowel stretch. His face distorts even further. That's got him moving closer to the mirror. Balthazar is concerned because now his skin appears in motion, rippling as if liquefied. And just when he sees the surface of the mirror blistering and starts to move, boom, one-way glass explodes outward on the front edge of a fireball, sending Balthazar flying with glass and flame. John stands on the other side in an access channel. That dragon's breath flamethrower now duct taped to his holy shotgun.
How's he doing it?
John steps into the trading room, eyes Balthazar rising from the floor. Suits in shreds, half his face is burned off, but now he's pissed.
It's a direct violation of the balance.
Screw the balance.
John hits him with another blast of flame, pins him hard against the wall. Interior Barracuda. Angela hears the gunshots. Cop instinct takes over and she gets out of the car. Checks the amulet, intact. Interior BZR trading room. John turns his attention back to Balthazar, doesn't hesitate and hits him with a continuous tide of flame. Suit and skin is peeling off, revealing something else underneath, the true form.
How's he doing it, you half-breed piece of shit?
John swings the flame aside so he can kick Balthazar against the wall, but now his weapon sputters. Shit. Charcoal hand thrusts out, bats away the shotgun, and grabs John by the throat. Balthazar rises from the ashes. He may be burned, but he's one tough son of a bitch. Balthazar slides John up a wall by his neck. John can't break his hold. He's choking, frantically rummages through his coat pockets. Comes out with those sacred gold knuckles on his right hand. Balthazar tightens his grip and John swings, clocks him across the face. The enhanced punch sends a dizzying ripple throughout Balthazar's body, but he doesn't let go. John is choking, starts wailing on him again and again, each punch weakening this demon more. John finally gets him against the wall. Right arm's tired, so he slips the gold knuckles onto his left hand and with extreme pleasure continues punching away, drives Balthazar to the floor, right to the brink of death. He leans up, winded, watches in delight as Balthazar strains to take his final breaths.
I will see you very soon.
Not really, no.
You can't cheat at this time. You're going back to hell.
True, but you're not.
John removes that small black box from his coat. Balthazar tries not to be concerned until John unlatches it and removes the one weapon he hardly ever uses, a Bible.
What are you doing?
Reading you your last rites.
Your meteor incantations have no relevance to my kind.
Aren't you half human? You see, that makes you eligible to be forgiven. Do you know what it is to be truly forgiven? To be welcomed into the kingdom of God? A demon in heaven. Love to be a fly on that wall.
You're not a priest. You have no power.
I escaped hell. Who else do you know has power to do that? Just tell me how Mammon is crossing over and you can go back to your shithole.
Balthazar isn't convinced. John stands, raises the Bible, and starts to read.
May God have mercy on you and grant you the pardon of all your sins.
He places a hand on Balthazar's forehead. Balthazar glares at it as John's voice rises with commanding authority.
Whosoever sins you remit on earth, they are remitted unto them in heaven. I resolve you from...
May not even work.
How? How's he doing it?
Balthazar looks scared as shit to tell him.
Grant your child entry into thy kingdom in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost.
Son go dead to you.
John stops reading, stunned.
How?
Who killed the Son of God would give birth to the son of the devil.
By the way, you have to ask for absolution, asshole.
Fuck. Close on the prisoner's relic. It's tucked between the folds of an airline's blanket.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been cleared for landing. Please make sure your seats are in their upright and locked position.
Hand comes in, grips the relic, widened to see. Interior 747, mid-flight. Prisoner in an aisle seat, trying to keep calm. He looks behind him as if being watched, just nerves again.
We should be on the ground in Los Angeles within 10 minutes.
Exterior BZR brokerage, front area. Angela moves through the gathered crowd, looking up at the building. As she makes her way through, the amulet brushes against bodies, swinging from side to side. Angela suddenly stops in the center of the street, turns.
Something's coming.
She stares at her surroundings with an increasing sense of dread, then hears the rumble and tires screeching. Angela spins, spots John's Barracuda exploding around the corner. It barrels up the street and slides to a squealing stop in front of her. Passenger door swings open.
What happened to staying in the car?
You were in danger.
Well, now there's a premonition.
They peel out. Interior BZR. Balthazar is taking his last breaths when the sound of wind filters through the room. He looks up as a shadow drapes across him, eyes widen.
One more chance.
Shadow darkens and his decimated form shudders.
Jesus didn't die from being nailed to a cross.
Exterior, interior Barracuda moving. John takes a turn at 70 as Angela stares into John's Bible.
He was finished off by a soldier's spear.
He points in the Bible at a detailed painting of the event. Jesus hanging on the cross, being pierced by a soldier's spear. It matches that child's drawing John removed from the fridge, now lying on his seat.
I'm Catholic, John. I know the crucifixion story.
Then you know what the spear would mean to a demon trying to cross over. Stains on its edges.
Angela looks back at the painting, notes the liquid flowing from Jesus' wound. Angela can't believe it.
Mammon needed divine assistance. How's the blood of God's only son?
So that's it. He's got everything he needs to escape.
Not quite. Twins.
Angela gives him a look. Something in the rearview mirror catches his gaze.
Here we go.
John floors it, and Angela glances out the back window, spots something in the traffic. bounding over vehicles, hitting the pavement on all fours.
What is that?
A hound on the hunt.
A blur of muscle and bone leaps over cars at incredible speed, denting in roofs, cracking in windshield, causing general chaos. Cars brake, slide into each other, and still this thing keeps coming.
Hang on.
Barracuda slides into an alley, races towards the other end. Angela looks back, sees their pursuer enter the alley. It makes huge strides along the walls, defying all manner of physics.
Impossible.
The beast goes right up the wall and disappears above the building.
I lost it.
Bam! Something lands hard on the roof, denting it a good foot. A huge clawed talon punches into the sheet metal, starts shredding it right over Angela. Talon thrusts in. Angela dodges it, her amulet swinging wildly. John hits the brakes and the beast flips off the roof and onto the hood, right into view. A muscular anomaly with eyes that are unmistakably Balthazar's. He lashes against the windshield with an extra appendage. Thank God for safety glass. He jerks back his embedded talon, pulls the entire windshield out with it, smashing it on the hood. Glass particles explode into the car. John throws the car into a spin, slamming the Barracuda into several parked cars. Balthazar is uprooted, is thrown from the car. Angela looks back, sees Balthazar rolling into traffic.
He's down.
He's not down. Give me your phone.
Exterior downtown. Inside the taxi, Chaz's cellular rings over the buzz of the dispatch scanner.
This is a private line, John.
Intercut John.
Chaz, where are you?
3rd and Figueroa.
You still got the Sidralis?
Yeah.
Remember the Chalik of Enoch incident?
Oh, no, not that. I just paid off this car, please.
West Side, 3rd Street Bridge, say 2 minutes.
I'm 5 blocks away. John? Ah,
Exterior Elliott Street's continuous action. John heads towards the skyline now at 90 miles per hour to the 3rd Street Bridge on the horizon. Angela scans behind them, can't believe her eyes.
He's back.
Here comes Balthazar through traffic on all fours.
John, he's back and he's gaining on us.
Of course he's gaining.
John punches the gas to the floor. Exterior 3rd Street Bridge. Chaz swerves onto the other side of the narrow bridge. He screeches to a stop across the roadway, opens the glove box, grabs a velvet-wrapped object, and pulls a glass vial out of it. Inside flows a phosphorescent green liquid. Chaz jumps out, runs to the back of the car, pauses when he hears the sound of a straining engine. Here comes the topless Barracuda over the bridge's arched roadway. And what the hell is that running behind him?
Shit.
Chaz twists off the gas cap, drops the vial into the tank. He pulls out his beeper, rips the cover off, exposing the electronics. He wedges the beeper into the tank inlet, then starts sprinting off the bridge while, interior Barracuda, John gives Angela the number.
954.
Taxi in view. Angela punches in the number.
954.
They rip past the taxi.
666.
Here comes Balthazar up the bridge like a supercharged cheetah, running full stride and not even winded.
Sorry, 666.
Balthazar is almost to the taxi. John waits. Then
6.
Angela punches the last digit as Balthazar leaps to jump the taxi. Interior gas tank. Beeper contacts buzz. Spark. Gas ignites. Taxi explodes right under Balthazar in a tremendous fireball. Initial impact only kicks him higher. It's when the Sidralis in the tank truly ignites that the real fireworks begin. Balthazar is caught in a haze of brilliant red particles that tear his body apart in midair. His final shriek is chilling. Exterior, interior Barracuda. John smacks the wheel victoriously, looks over to Angela, who sighs with relief. His expression changes as he centers on the empty necklace dangling around her neck.
Where's the amulet?
Wham! Something reaches through the roof hole and jerks her right out of the car.
Angela!
John slams the brakes home. Car spins and John is already jumping out before it comes to a stop. He runs to the rail.
What the hell was that?
Both leap onto the concrete rail, lean over, and spot a huge winged shadow just as it disappears below the bridge. Chaz is speechless as he turns to John. This is too much. John gives him the out he's been waiting for.
We're even.
Chaz nods and John leaves him at the rail. He jumps back in the Barracuda and peels out. Chaz watches him race away and looks back at his burning taxi.
Even?
Exterior LAX day. Prisoner walks out of the terminal here at last. He stares at all the vehicles at his disposal. A family crowds around the back of a minivan. Wife hugs the dad. Mysterious POV watches him from behind. Prisoner turns, looks back suspiciously. Nothing. Prisoner walks out to the street, slides into the minivan, tears away. Kids' toys tumble across the seats. Interior Club Midnight hallway, continuous action. John bursts through a door, midnight right on his heels.
My mom has been trying to climb out of his father's shadow for eons.
This time he might just make it.
Because he's got the spear.
And the bridge.
Giving this girl way too much credit.
You don't know her.
And you do? That'd be a first.
John swings open a storage room door, looks in at large-scale relics, statues, props, etc.
Where's the chair?
Chair.
The delicate little number from Sing Sing.
Midnight just stares at him.
It's a fine line that separates a hero from a fool.
I'll take my chances.
And taint my establishment with your blood? I don't think so.
Midnight.
You know what that device can do to the ill-equipped?
Midnight.
And even in your most glorious days, your brain was never your most powerful attribute.
Where the hell is the chair, you dumb shit?
Midnight just stands there, his body inflating past 7 feet. John knows he went too far.
That was a cancer talking. You know that, right?
Once.
Interior storage area. Fluorescents flicker, reveal boxes of toilet tissue, cooking supplies, etc. And sitting in one corner by the huge power transformer is the chair. Heavy wooden monstrosity with straps and cuffs, and aware of many who sat in it for the last time. Yeah, it's an electric chair right out of Sing Sing.
What's in your bathroom at Renoir?
I have insurance issues.
John clears off the seat, starts to sit. Midnight blocks him.
You haven't surfed in decades.
Like riding a bike.
You'd be lucky to reach an elemental plane.
Then just increase the juice.
In your condition, your body won't take it.
I just need enough rope to find her.
If you do, what then?
One goddamn problem at a time.
John shoves past him, plops his ass in the huge chair. His feet dangle off the ground. Midnight stands by, won't help. So John starts strapping himself in the chair. His chest, his ankles, one wrist. He obviously can't strap the other. He looks to the big man.
You want me to sign a waiver?
Midnight sighs, finally straps the other wrist in, pulls it tight. Ouch. Exterior sky, close on Angela, moving in a surreal fashion across an evening sky. Below her, the city of angels sweep past. Her eyes drift open and widen in horror as she sees beyond reality. Reflection in her eyes, the city is on fire. It's a repeat of Isabel's prophetic vision before she jumped.
Listen to my voice inside.
Interior Midnight, storage room. Midnight kneels in front of John, who is now handcuffed to the chair, cables draped from every limb.
Try to guide you out.
Try.
Maman was forced out of that girl when she jumped, so unless he found a holding vessel to wait in, he would have fallen back to hell.
No, he's still here. I'm sure of it.
Watch yourself. He could be anyone in there.
John nods. Midnight lifts a palm of insect wings in front of his face.
Roach wings? What happened to lilac petals?
Midnight cranks the juice on the panel as he blows, and John reacts as if being hit by a blast of wind. His head slams back against the slats. His skin ripples from the force. Stay on his face as the sound of power courses through John.
Peter tu caelis Deus imiri nobis. Fili redemptor mundi Deus minseri nobis.
A flash turns into a streak behind John's face, stretching to infinity.
Find the possessor and the spear will be revealed. Find them. Find them and follow.
The flash whips back towards us and John is suddenly somewhere else. He looks off screen. Interior prison chamber from the open. From that mysterious POV, we watch the prisoner hold the spear for the first time. Like before, he turns and looks behind him where John now stands, watching. John centers on the spear in the prisoner's hand. Flash ahead, interior Istanbul airport. That same mysterious POV of the prisoner in line. He turns as he did before, and it's John behind him, watching. Prisoner turns away. Flash ahead, exterior LAX terminal, evening. Mysterious POV is on the prisoner at the exit doors. He looks back suspiciously, and there's John, watching. Prisoner turns, heads to the minivan. Flash ahead, exterior East LA, mysterious POV, night. A minivan still smoking from a recent impact against a large iron entrance gate. Prisoner is running from it, glances back. John is there. Watches as the prisoner enters the abandoned wing of Ravenscar. John reacts. How'd he miss this? John reaches out to touch the spear when the prisoner suddenly turns around and grabs him by the throat. John struggles to pull him off, but the man's grip is locked tight. John grabs at his hands and chokes out the name
Midnight!
John's hands suddenly become Midnight's as his ally pulls him back into interior Midnight storage room. John's face is held tight in the life-saving fingers of Midnight's grip. John gasps as he comes back, nods to Midnight, and finally,
Raven's car, the abandoned wing.
exterior over hillside, flying, evening. Winged shadow glides across the landscape, sweeps across manicured grounds, and rises to reveal Ravenscar Hospital. Interior Midnight's office later. Midnight piles assault rifles, shotguns, Glocks onto a table.
You know these won't kill them.
John adjusts the flames of a butane heater under a pan.
Probably won't even get close enough to use them.
In the pan is that religious relic he brought from India. It's now melting. Midnight has trouble watching it dissolve.
It's not just the one man.
John coughs, pours the melted gold into several small casting blocks.
Better worry about whoever's helping him.
John gives the big guy a glance, dips one of the castings into a pot of water. Hiss.
As much as I admire your blind faith, even in the most dire situations, expecting to just waltz into a facility that's about to become a floodgate of hell is reaching a bit, even for you.
John stops the work, centers on him, and Midnight just knows what he's thinking. Midnight sighs heavily.
Suppose two fools can die just as easily as one.
John almost smiles.
Hey, you think I'm trusting you to save the world?
John taps the casting, and out falls a gold-tipped bullet.
We're gonna need more than a few magic bullets to get inside.
John centers on the sparklets bottles positioned around the room, just like John's.
That ritual you do with the water. Can you do more than one bottle at a time?
Midnight raises an eyebrow. Exterior Ravenscar, night. The motorized main gate is jammed, opening and closing on a crashed van. The van the prisoner carjacked. The abandoned hospital wing stands ominous against a moonlit night. Vague figures move about near the emergency entrance. John's Barracuda idles up with its headlights off. John stares out, points up to the water tank on the roof.
Figures.
Interior Ravenscar, physical therapy room. Therapy machines look like medieval torture devices in the dim lit rooms. Prisoner stands waist deep in a large hydrotherapy tank inset into the tile floor. His skin is pale, sickly looking. Obviously containing mammon takes its toll. His hands are below his waist, and now we see they're lowering a still unconscious Angela into the water. Her face floats just above the surface as he buckles restraining straps around her wrists. Interior Ravenscar, abandoned wing. Front glass doors swing open, and John and Midnight calmly strut inside. Stop. Hear the off-screen murmurs of an unseen crowd. This emergency room is crammed with people. Lawyers, brokers, soccer moms, truck drivers, etc. Most are crowded in front of a set of double doors. The room goes dead silent as all eyes lock on our guys. John steps from Midnight, raises his hands like a riot cop.
Hi.
The crowd of people ignore him.
Meeting's over. You're in direct violation of the code. If you don't leave now, I'll deport all your sorry asses back to hell. All of you.
That's got their attention. As entertainment. A few chuckle.
So be it.
John pulls out a lighter, holds it up, flicks it on. John steps back up onto a chair, thrusts the lighter higher, right into a sprinkler head.
Go to hell.
Series of shots. the room of half-humans, all looking up as water sprays from every nozzle. John and Midnight tense because the first drops have no effect. A beat. A spurt in the water lines, and suddenly shrieks fill the room as half-human skin begins to fry.
Holy water.
Emergency lighting has snapped on, throwing the room into a strobing nightmare of action. Flashes of human skin melting, revealing snippets of the true demons underneath. It's total pandemonium as their rage is directed towards the only real humans in the room. John and Midnight fling their coats open, draw their weapons, and start firing away at the attacking horde. Sacred bullets cause major damage, wounds that ripple out through demon bodies. John and Midnight slam back to back, spinning under the protective shield of a showering sprinkler head, shooting at all manner of distorted forms that venture into the column of spray. One reloads while the other fires. It's a hellish form of a turkey shoot. Nothing sacred, nothing spared. John goes for the double doors. Midnight covers him, blows away another 2 disintegrating demons. 2 come up behind and he spins, takes them down. Midnight comes out of the rain, grabs John.
Let's go.
Interior physical therapy room. Angela's body and face are completely submerged now. She comes to, sees the prisoner above her, tries to rise, but he pushes her head to the bottom, holds it there. Last bubbles are floating up from her mouth. Prisoner places his other hand on her arm, closes his eyes. Interior corridor. Holy rain has stopped in here. A fine mist floats in the air. John and Midnight make their way through. Only their footsteps on the tile break the stark silence. Another set of doors is ahead. Before they reach it, a faint shadow crosses in the mist. Both pause, expecting something to reveal itself, but it doesn't. Interior physical therapy room. Faint waves undulate prisoner's skin, ripple from his chest down his arms and into a submerged Angela. Every muscle in her body tenses in stark relief. Angela's POV. Prisoner's image ripples above her in silence. Room lighting starts to pulse, slower and slower, and when it's caught in that dim half-light, Angela jolts, and this time we cross over into physical therapy from hell. Angela is lying in a bone-dry tank, lifts her head up to see a room not much different from the one she just left, except for the sound, that low drone rising in pitch, those demonic screeches scratching at the walls. And now those inky splotches begin consuming the color and light from the walls, moving in on Angela, closer and closer. Whatever's coming is just about on her.
Angela.
Angela spins and for a split second comes face to face with the hideous form of Mammon. She screams. Interior normal physical therapy room real time. John and Midnight burst into the room, spot prisoner standing in the tank, his hands in the water, on Angela. John rushes towards him and he turns to see their guns aimed on him.
Let her up! Let her up!
A beat as John meets prisoner's eyes, realizes he's staring at a frightened man who has no idea what's going on. He backs away as Angela sits up behind John, water rippling off, straps dangling free. John turns, locks on her black eyes.
Shit.
John thinks fast, scans the area, and sees every mirror in the room has been shattered. So much for the quick fix. He jumps into the water with her, grabs her face, and pushes her against the tank walls. This is an exorcism on the fly.
Amar Natash Balthazar, receive for the flesh I command thee.
Angela's eyes snap open, dark and dilated. John sees it, clasps a hand over her mouth, cutting off her air supply.
Back to hell, asshole.
Her body undulates as Mamon's shape tries to come through, pulsating through her arms, her chest, her face. Angela bites into his palm. John recoils. She shoves him off and John hits the tile hard. Angela jumps from the tank, pushes past in a blur. John spins to see Midnight standing right there. Angela now firmly in his size 12 grasp.
Finish it.
Intercut with mysterious high POV. John coughs, struggles to stand. He tries to cover, but it's obvious his end is nearing. Midnight positions Angela to face him, braces her arms out from her sides, crucifixion style. She tries, but can't break free. John puts a hand to her forehead.
Et separatur a plasmet tuo, ut num quam letadur amorsu antiqui serpentes. Rescind from the flesh, I command thee. Amar Natash Balthazar.
Angela's body stops fighting. The darkness in her eyes and fingernails begins to fade. It's working. Midnight is suddenly jerked backwards with an agonizing yell. Angela is dropped, slips into unconsciousness. John watches in horror as Midnight's 300-pound frame is lifted right off the floor by an invisible grasp, slammed into the ceiling, then twisted and thrown with incredible force against the floor. Midnight glares at John, tries to speak, but the words die on his lips. Enraged, John scans the empty room, sees a large shadow on the ceiling that doesn't belong to any object. He holds back a cough long enough to rip up his sleeves and slams the tattoos on his arms together.
Into the light, I command thee! Into the light, I command thee!
It takes every ounce of John's life force to keep the spill alive, and when he's about to drop from exhaustion, the shadow is brought fully into the light, becomes that familiar shape of wings.
Your ego is astounding.
John strains to see the shadow become the real thing, the majestic wings of an angel.
Gabriel,
John is too weak to even be surprised anymore.
figures,
Gabriel touches down in front of him, spear in his hand.
and the wicked shall inherit the earth.
You presume to judge me now, John?
Betrayal, murder, genocide. Call me provincial.
I am seeking to inspire humankind to be all that was intended.
By unleashing hell on earth? Good thinking.
Gabriel's wings fold behind as he walks around John.
You've had it easy for too long.
So what's a few thousand years of pain, right?
You've never deserved to be blessed. You have all been born with a silver spoon in your mouth, up your ass, never really appreciating the gift that you were given so freely. Unconditional love from your creator.
And that just bugs the shit out of you.
It's not your fault. Like the animals that you are, you never learn unless you're sufficiently prodded. Pleasure has no lasting effect, but subject you to pain, unpleasantness, suffering, and then you will take notice. You will fight to overcome. You earn your redemption, and that is when you are at your best.
Angela's fingernails are starting to darken once again.
You're trying to teach us a lesson.
Oh, I'm giving you the chance to rise above the suffering and truly earn the love of God. The road to salvation. It begins tonight, right now.
John just stares at this rogue angel, centers on the spear in his hand. He makes a break for it. Gabriel's wings beat once. The gust blows John through the double doors, back into the corridor, where he smashes against a mesh-screened window, drops to the floor in a heap with the other dying carcasses. Physical therapy room. Gabriel turns back to Angela. He approaches her, his rippling wings sliding up around her, enveloping her, pulling her in. Those eyes of his can melt Dracula. Corridor. John can't even stand, let alone save the girl or humanity. It would be so easy to give up, to roll over and die. But instead, he tries something he hasn't done in a long time.
I know I'm not one of your favorites. I'm not even allowed in your house. But I could use a little attention.
John waits for nothing. His body crumples, his cheek landing flat against the tile. Glistening shards of mirror glass lie around him. As he stares at his reflection in one, he gets the idea. Physical therapy room. Angela's eyes begin to quiver. The color dreams. Blackness is waiting. Corridor. John slides his back up the wall as he reels in that shard of mirror. Physical therapy room. Angela's posture begins to change. Mamon's form ripples through her, starts to push out through her skin. Gabriel stands behind her, his wings cocooned around her waist.
Cross the bridge to your destiny.
Corridor. John pulls up his sleeve, exposes his old scar. He pauses a beat, closes his eyes. Stay on his face as he makes one swift slice movement. But he's in a rush here. Makes that same motion across his other wrist as well. With both wrists purging his life away, John settles back into the corner and waits for the inevitable.
Hurry.
Physical therapy room. Gabriel reveals the spear. Corridor. John is dying. Eyes are starting to close as physical therapy room. Gabriel raises the spear of destiny over Angela's chest. He holds the spear high above her chest, readies for the final thrust as corridor. Bulbs flicker as current ramps down and time comes to a complete stop. All we're left with is a distant metallic drone, like the reverberation of a gong struck 1,000 years ago. John lies in that dim half-light, motionless. Something starts to swirl near him, and just like that, John is no longer alone. Shadow falls over his pathetic form.
Time has come at last to collect your soul.
John pries his eyes open.
Hello, John.
Hey, Lou. What took you so long?
John, hello. You're the one show I wouldn't miss.
So I've heard.
I've got the whole theme park planned out for you, red balloons and all.
Aren't you a peach?
Satan sees John's slit wrists.
I wouldn't think you'd make the same mistake twice.
John looks up at him.
And you didn't, did you?
So how's the family?
Oh, the family's doing just fine. Busy, 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 busy. I need a vacation.
Or that kid of yours is a chip off the old block.
Well, one does what one can.
He's topside
I know.
with Gabriel.
No. No accounting for taste, really.
He's helping your son create hell on earth.
Well, boys will be boys.
They have the spirit of destiny.
Satan didn't know that. Now he's concerned.
They have the spirit of destiny. That is another one of your cons, is it?
Go look for yourself.
Satan is still suspicious.
You've waited 20 years for me, Lou. What's another 20 seconds?
Satan contemplates his remark. With an unholy growl, he begrudgingly walks away from John into the physical therapy room. The spear is about to be thrust into Angela's chest. Gabriel pulls the spear towards Angela in slow motion. Time slowly starts to resume its normal speed. But Satan snaps his fingers, and suddenly Angela has vanished from within Gabriel's wings. As time resumes its normal speed, the blade pierces dead air. Satan holds Angela tight, covering her mouth like John did. She struggles, and the demon inside appears, reflected in the huge chunks of glass scattered on the floor. Hideous, the real Mamone.
Say goodbye to the sun, both of you.
Mamone shrieks as he is pulled back into hell, and Gabriel's beautiful wings ignite in flame. Corridor. John is rocked by a major jolt that shakes the entire building to its foundation. A moment later, Satan is back. John looks up, gives him that look, you owe me. Satan hates admitting it, but knows it's true.
So, what do you want? An extension?
John shakes his head, can barely utter a sound.
Isabel,
What about her?
let her go home.
You would give up your life so she could go to heaven?
John manages a nod.
Fine. It's done.
Interior physical therapy room. Angela gasps. Her first real breath's a strain. Adrenaline rushes through her and she quickly closes her eyes. Exterior, that gorgeous sky stretches out before us. And here come those two swings, pendulum up in slow motion. Young Angela and Isabel share that moment again. But this time Isabel lets go and jumps out of her swing. Her body sails up and away, her fingers reaching out for what seems so close, so close. Isabel keeps going until she fades into the sky. Interior corridor.
Time to go.
Yeah.
John relaxes, stops fighting the inevitable. Satan takes his hand, starts to pull him home, but suddenly finds himself pulling on what seems to be an infinite mass. Try as he might, he can't budge John an inch. And now John's other hand leaves his side, and as if weightless, begins to rise towards something above. No sense of beating around the bush here. John is in the embrace of God. Satan sees this and recoils in absolute rage.
The sacrifice! No! This belongs to me!
John's rising hand drifts back down in front of Satan, the middle finger fully extended. Final straw. Satan goes rabid, turns to pure energy for a split second. His hands remain on fire.
You will live, John Constantine. You will live so you'll have the chance to prove that your soul truly belongs in hell. You will live.
Satan eagerly plunges his blazing hands into John's body. John screams in agony. Satan tears through his tissue, collecting the cancer, then ripping out a mass of diseased tissue with one vengeful pull. John's final blood-curdling scream echoes through the halls. Interior corridor. On his hands and knees, John takes that first breath. New lungs fill for the first time. No cough, not even a wheeze. Face has renewed color. Wrists have sealed tight. John is healed. He stands, steps back inside the physical therapy room. John stops over the body of the African warrior. He stands immobilized, wrecked with emotion. A sound draws his attention to the one thing that could cause him even greater rage. Gabriel is hunched over near a wall. Jagged cartilage stumps protrude from his back. A pattern of sinew and bone is burned into the floor behind him. It's all that remains of his once majestic wings. John approaches, spots blood dripping from the former angel. He realizes what this means, gets a kick out of it.
Human.
Gabriel looks up as John retrieves a gun from the wet floor.
You don't deserve to be human.
Then pass judgment on me now.
John raises the gun, puts it to Gabriel's forehead.
Do it. Seek revenge. End my life.
John's finger nudges the trigger.
Kill me. Pull the trigger. Be the hand of God.
John pauses, realizes what's happening here.
And I'll be condemned again.
Do it.
It takes everything John has not to pull that trigger. He lowers the gun, shaking his head.
You're even worthless as bait.
John starts to turn away.
Deny your true nature today, but what of tomorrow, of the tomorrow after that? It's only a matter of time before you end up right back where you belong. It is who you are, Constantine. Stand.
John's fist starts behind his back, gains momentum the entire arc until it ends abruptly against Gabriel's face. The ex-angel is propelled all the way to the wall, slams hard against the concrete. Body crumples on impact, slides down to the muck. You know this hurt like absolute hell.
It's called pain. Get used to it.
John turns towards the double doors, stops cold. Huddled in the doorway, covered in grime, is Angela. The experience has obviously left her drained. John walks across the room, kneels down to her.
Thank you, John.
John nods and helps her to her feet. Interior John's apartment, Midnight's Universal Orrery. Moving slowly past the inoperative device, past strangely shaped objects of platinum and gold, with names and symbols that make a bit more sense now. Exterior Africa, day. Huge sun beats down on a lone figure walking across a stretch of the most barren landscape on Earth. He stops, kneels to the heavily cracked soil, starts digging. Interior John's apartment, the orrery. A hand comes in, affixes an unseen object to a protruding rod. Its weight causes it to drop out of frame, but a moment later it rises back into view and finds a balance. Exterior Africa. John pulls back the protective hood from his face. Healthy and tan with a new lease on life. He pops a Nicorette gum tablet, then unwraps rolls of cloth from around the Spear of Destiny. He drops it in the hole, stares at it a long beat. Interior John's apartment, the orrery. The entire mechanism shudders. And now, miraculously, every globe, every moon, every obscure object in this miniature occult universe begins to rotate in complete sync. As it does, the defining object finally slides into view. John's lighter. Angela watches it rotate past, nods in approval. Exterior Africa. John sighs, finally sweeps mounds of soil over the sacred relic. He stands, nods, job done. A breeze blows past and John senses being watched. He spins and finds nothing. For 100 miles, he starts walking.
Some people are born to make a difference. I had to die twice.
Match cut 2, exterior 20 lanes bowling alley, Angela, walking right in step. Something is closing in on him. A new taxi pulls up. Chaz is driving. Angela gets in.
God does work in mysterious ways.
Exterior Africa. John continues walking as something closes in on him at incredible speed.
Some people like it.
Our view rises over him and gliding across the barren landscape with a shadow of wings.
Some people don't.
Fade out. The end.
Yay! Thank you, everybody. That was awesome. And scene.